Om Ajnanatimarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Primanande Hari Hari Bol. So thank you so much, everybody. Those of you here who are here on Zoom, and it's quite a good turnout today. And those of you who are watching us here on the Facebook, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Dilip Bhai Prabhu, Hemlata Mataji, and Vidya Udu Devi Dataji. Thank you so much for joining us here. And to our wonderful audience in the Zoom room, we'll start with a little exercise on your notepads. So I'm going to recite one shloka from, not a shloka, but a stanza from a kirtan. And you have to take out your keypads and tell me from which song is it. Sankhya Purvak Gam Nam Gana Natvi Sankhya Purvak Nam Gana Natvi Kalavatani Krito Nitrahar Vihar Kati Vijito Sankhya Purvak Nam Gana Natvi Kalavasani Krito Nitrahar Vihar Kadi Vijito Jatyanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmriter Madhurima Anandanam Sammohito Sankhya Purvak Nam Gana Natvi Kala Vasani Krito Keep it coming. Nitrahar Vihar Kadi Vijito Jatyanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmriter Madharima Nandena Sammohito. Any more guesses? Okay. I'm going to sing the last line and then you will know which one it is. Okay. So one more time. Sankhya Purvak Nam Gana Natvi Kalavasani Krito Nitrahar Vihar Kaji Vijito Jatyanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Guna Smriter Madhurima Nandena Sammohito Vande Rup Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jeev Gopal Ko Vande Rup Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jeev Gopal Ko. Now that's a big one. That's a big giveaway. Which one is it? Vande Rup Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jeev Gopal Ko. Vande Rup Sanatana Raghuyugo. Any names come to your mind? Vande Rupa. Whom are you doing your obeisances to? Rupa is who? What's the full name of Rupa? Rupa Goswami, right. And Rande Rupa Sanatana. What's the full name of Sanatan? Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jeev Gopal Ko. This is from the Shad Goswami Ashtakam for the Ashtak for the six Goswamis. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghu Yuga, the two Raghu, Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. Vande Jiva, Jiva Goswami, right? Okay, so this is a verse from the Shad Goswami Astakam, and this was the sixth verse actually from there, which I'm sharing the translation of that with you. And it says, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jeev Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who were engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord and bowing down in a scheduled measurement. In a scheduled measurement. In this way, they utilize their valuable lives, and in executing these devotional activities, they conquered overeating and sleeping and were always meek and humble, enchanted by remembering the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Radha Krishna Guna Smriter Madhurima. Right? So this is about the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. And we know, of course, they have written so many books and translated so many books for us. And so here is a peculiarity that is mentioned about them. Of course, they were chanting, right? And they were doing devotional activities and they were bowing down before the Lord. But one of the important things to remember here is that they were doing all that in scheduled measurement. This is the important part of it. It was being done in scheduled measurement. They were measuring everything that you were doing. So, how do you measure your devotional service? Can you tell me on your pads? How do you measure your devotional service? How are you measuring it? What you're doing? How do you do that measurements? Are you doing any measurements as you go about doing devotional service? Do you measure anything? Sukumal Radhe Mataji says she doesn't measure anything. Okay. And how do you measure the quality, Archana Mataji, of chanting? How do you measure your devotional activities? Do you measure it? Do you count anything? As part of your devotional service, do you count? Are there any measurements that you take? No? Yes? Do you measure? Okay. Meera says, I don't know how to measure. So Tapa says, how much can I concentrate when we pray? So how do you measure your concentration? How do we measure that? How much can I concentrate when we pray? And then how do you measure your concentration? Right? So when you're doing your devotional activities, so that is what the question was, that when you're doing your devotional activities, how do you measure your devotional activities? So give it a thought. When you're doing your devotional activities, how are you measuring your devotional activities? Okay, listen to the question. Let not your mind go into the answer first. Listen to the question. So, how do you measure your activities? All right, how close it takes you to Krishna, and how do you measure that closeness? And the question is, how do you measure your activities of devotional service? How you are measuring the activities? How are you measuring? Okay, let's take devotional activities. Let's keep devotional activities aside and let's look at something else. And let's see, how do you measure your eating activities? That you can answer easily. How do you measure your eating activities? So Meera Mataji gives the right answer. She says you measure your eating activities by the portions, right? How many chapatis have I eaten? How many glasses of juice did I drink? How many cups of curd did I, wolf down? That is how you're measuring your eating activities. Now let's go back to devotional service and tell me, how do you measure your devotional activities? The activities that you do in devotional service, how are you measuring them? And first and foremost, give me a list of the activities that you do in devotional service. What are the lists? Right? Give me the list of activities that you do. There you go. Right? So anyway, nobody gave me the list of activities that you do, but you gave me the answer that Aruni Mataji says that number of japas, and Sukumal Radhe Mataji also says that how you're counting, and Simi is measuring the time that you are spending over to the Lord, and those are precise answers, right? And of course, the answer had also come from Vidyavadhu Mataji on Facebook, where she was saying that you count on the beads. So you count the mantras on beads. I have done 108, and then you start counting how many rounds I have made. So that is how you are measuring your activities, right? It is very difficult for you to measure how close I am to the Lord, how much I am remembering, what is my concentration level. These are not measurable things easily, right? But what you can measure easily is how many chapters of Bhagavad Gita I read today, how many shlokas I read, how many books I read, how many books I distributed, how much of prasadam I ate and distributed, and so on and so forth, right? So you measure, and that is what that song said, Sankhya Purvak Nam Gana Natibhi. So what they were saying, that Natibhi. So Sankhya Purvak, Sankhya means you count, Sankhya, you count it. So how they were doing a devotional service, they would count how many rounds we have done, how many times we have chanted, how many, they would even count natibhi, how many times I have put my nat mastak, how many times I put my forehead, how many times I bow down before the devotees. So they were doing devotional service, but they were very, very targeted. This is what Prabhupada is also teaching us, that when, and that's why he gave us this goal that you have to chant 16 rounds of every day, like that, right? So that now you know, okay, 16 rounds, I've done it. Good or bad, but I did it. 16 are done. And over a period of time, the quality will improve, right? But it's difficult to measure the quality, right? Especially too difficult to how will you measure whether my mind is here or not. The moment you put your mind in the measurement, then the mind is gone off from the mantra, right? Unless you record it and then later on play it and then you hear and then you know, right? But even then you might not know, because you could be reciting the mantra, but your mind could be anywhere else, somewhere else. Over a period of time, we get such experts at chanting the mantra that we can chant it flawlessly, but the mind is somewhere else, like that, right? So keep in mind that this is what they were doing, and so it's very important for us to have some definition as to, you know, what we are doing, where we are doing, how we are doing, how much we are doing, like that. Okay. So having said that, let's go to our topic for today, and that is chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and today's verse is verse number 66. But we'll go down again because we had a break of one day. We'll quickly go down the memory lane to see what we have done in the previous verses and in the previous days that we had. So I'll start again with text number 62, where we were talking about Dhayate Vishyan Pumsan, where it said that while you're contemplating on the objects of the senses, a person will develop an attachment to them. And once you're attached, lust will be developed. And once lust is not fulfilled, then anger develops. And then in the next verse, they said that, you know, when from anger, you will be deluded. And when you are deluded, then the memory is gone. And when the memory is gone, then intelligence goes too. And then we also fall down, like that. And then Krishna says in the next verse, but then, okay, that's for the one who's been contemplating on the objects of senses. But if you somehow or the other become free from any kinds of attachments and aversions, right? And you control these senses which go here, there, and everywhere, right? So then what happens is that you can get the mercy of the Lord, right? And then in the previous verse, which was on Tuesday, we did our famous verse, Prasade Sarva Dukhanam Hani Rasyo Pajayate Prasanna Chetaso Hyasu Buddhivar Paryavatishtate. And then it says that for one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, so one who is in Krishna consciousness, he's satisfied, right? The threefold miseries of material existence. And we talked about the threefold miseries of material existence, the three types. Does anybody remember what those three types were? Just take out your notepads and quickly send me over the internet. What are the three types of miseries that we have in this material world? Grab your notebooks and send it in. Yeah. Okay, so one has come in. Adi Bhautik, all right. Adhyatmik, all right. Adidaivik, all right. So we go, and more are coming in. Very good. Varchana Mataji, Adibhatik, Adhyatmik, right? Archana, Varchana Mataji, Garima. Yes, good. So here it said that these four types of material miseries will no longer exist once you are situated in Krishna consciousness. And then one's intelligence is soon well established. Because in the previous verses, we saw that if your intelligence is not established properly, then we fall down into this material whirlpool. Okay. So taking on from here, right? So the fall down was mentioned here. And of course, he was saying that one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. And while a person is trying to do that, in the previous verse, he had said that the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcefully carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control the senses. So, trying to do that, right? So we know that that danger is always there. We talked about walking in a razor sharp edge, right, in devotional service. And so now he's saying that, okay, if you're free from attachment and an aversion, then you will be situated in Krishna consciousness, and do devotional service to be situated in Krishna consciousness, and then you get the mercy of the Lord will come to you, right? And today's verse is talking about that what happens if you don't get connected. Like, here's the thing: if you get connected and don't have any attachment aversions like that, then mercy comes. What if I am not connected to Krishna? Okay, so that is the verse for today that we're going to pick up over here. And what does this what does this verse tell us? The verse says that Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayataha shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavavyataha shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. And let's see, what does the synonym tell us over here? It says na asti, which means that there cannot be. Buddhihi, here buddhihi is taken to be transcendental intelligence. Ayuktasya means one who is not connected with Krishna consciousness. Na means not, ja means end, that we know, right? Ayuktasya, one devoid of Krishna consciousness. He's not connected to Krishna, so obviously he's devoid of Krishna consciousness. Bhavana means fixed mind. And where is it mind fixed? It's fixed in happiness. Na is not, cha is and again. Abhavayataha. Abhavayata is of one who is not fixed, right? Abhavayataha. Bhavana is fixed and abhavyata is not fixed. Shanti, peace. Ashantasya, unpeace, right? No peace or unpeaceful. Kutaha, where is? Sukham, happiness. Okay. So, what is bhavana? Take out your notepad and tell me, what is bhavana? From here. Bhavana means what? Give me the complete answer. Bhavana means, here from this text, in the context of this text, one who is fixed in happiness. Yeah, in happiness, right? Okay. And then what is happiness in Sanskrit? And what is transcendental intelligence? And if somebody is not peaceful, what will you call? What will you say if somebody is not peaceful? Ashantasya. Very nice. Asantasya. And if one is not connected to Krishna, what will you say? Call that situation? Ayuktasya. Very good. Ayuktasya. Now let us see, what does this mean? How does Prabhupada explain this particular thing to us, right? So he says that one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, because you can also be connected to the Supreme and not in Krishna consciousness, because Kamsa was always connected to Krishna, right? But he was not in the right mood, right? So one who is not connected with the Supreme can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Right? So he says that if you are not connected, then you won't have transcendental intelligence. You'll be hovering in the material plane. Manorathena sthita asato bhai. You'll sit on the chariot of the mind and go here and there. Right? So you won't have transcendental intelligence. And because you don't have a transcendental intelligence, you won't have a steady mind. And because of the mind being unsteady, you will not have peace. And then comes the question that how can there be any happiness without peace? So, unpeacefulness, right? That was the term that was used. So, unpeaceful. Can you tell me the symptoms of a person, or what are the things? How would you describe what happens to a person who is not peaceful? Just throw in some ideas that come to your mind when I say this person is not peaceful. What is the picture that shows up? The person is agitated, okay, and agitated, always agitated. All right, and what is agitation? How does a person who is agitated behave? He's restless, he's anxious, he behaves restlessly, he's angry. Yep, right. Envious, mad, proud, arrogant. So, right, so all of that, unstable, yes, right. So here Krishna is saying that, that if there is no peace, now any of these people that you mentioned, restless, angry, are they happy? They're not. So here in this verse, they are saying that how can there be any happiness if there is no peace? How can there be happiness without peace? And let's see in the purport, what does what does Srila Prabhupada tell us in the purport to this? And he says that unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 5.29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, right? And he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. Disturbance is due to the want of an ultimate goal. Disturbance is due to the want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. In Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. So I'm going to read this purport again. It's a very heavy purport. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 5.29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, and that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of anyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Okay, so let's take a pause over here. Heavy purport, let me know what verse, what words struck your mind from the purport or from the verse. And no looking into the book. What words struck into your mind? You heard the whole thing, I believe. Okay. So Aruni Mataji, what happens? Want of ultimate goal, what happens? Want means lack, right? So there's a lack of goal. So yeah, because of lack of an ultimate goal, there is disturbance. All right. And then Garima said a disturbance. Okay. So tapasya is disturbance. And then Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition. Garima shortened that to self-manifestation. Want of ultimate goal, we talked about lack of peace, right? All very fantastic recollections from you. You all, right? Unless Krishna, unless you focus yourself on Krishna, right? So it clearly is telling you the peacefulness and the happiness formula, and such an important thing that verse is pointing out and is saying that unless you have peace, how can you have happiness? Come to the peaceful state first, and then you can think about any sort of happiness. And of course, there is no such thing as material happiness. It's all just Shruti Sukham. We have just, been hearing about happiness here, there, and everywhere. Okay. So I really like the term, a sentence that says, disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. There and there, bang, Prabhupada has given you the solution for all our miseries. He's telling, not the solution, he's giving us the cause, right? So you're doing the root cause analysis. Why are you disturbed? Why are we so disturbed? Right? It says in this Kali Yuga, this is one of the qualities of us in Kali Yuga. We always disturbed, right? So he's giving us the reason why we are always disturbed. And the reason is that we don't have an ultimate goal. So let us see why, why does not having, what does it mean? And of course, Krishna is the ultimate goal. So not having that goal with us, why does it disturb us? So let's try. Let's try and take a goal, any type of a material goal. You want to put down a material goal? You want to give an example of material goal? Why don't you go ahead in your in your notepads and give it? Any material goal, okay? Listen carefully. Any material goal. I'm asking for a material goal. All right. Wanting promotion. Very good. So let's take this example of a person wants to be a singer. All right. And want to buy a big house. Very good. Good examples. Okay. Let's take all of them one by one. So a person wants promotion. Okay, Garima Mataji, what do you want to become? Suppose I have got a magic wand and I can wave the wand on your head and you'll get promoted. What promotion do you want? She wants to become a manager. Okay. So once you become a manager, and then I come to you again, Garima Mataji, and I say, Garima, I have got a magic wand. And I can, I can turn it over your head. I can, move it over your head. And you can get any promotion that you want. What will you say? What would you want? Senior manager. Good. Now, senior manager, Garima Khandelwal, I've come to you again for the third time with the magic wand. Tell me, Garima, what do you want to become in your company? What would you say? Director. You see where it is going? The goal that you have set is not the ultimate goal. Wherever you reach, it's not the ultimate. You're always hankering for the second one. hankering, hankering, hankering for the second one, right? How much do you want to lose weight? I am a size 24. I want to become 20. Once you become 20, you want to go 18, 16, then 14, then 10. I want to look like a 16-year-old girl. Why not? Right? So there is no limit to these things. There's no end, right? As Prabhupada was saying, that the disturbance, right? The cause of the disturbance is the lack of an ultimate goal. So when we talk about the word ultimate means final. It's the final goal. Beyond this, I do not want. No mass. Done. Satisfied. Like that. Right? So ultimate, the word ultimate actually, it comes from a very interesting thing. Of course, it means final and, all that kind of stuff. But I was researching into to see what does ultimate actually come from and what was the origins of that. So it comes from Latin and it is actually, um, ultimate or ulterior. It actually comes from alter, the word alter in Latin, and which means beyond. So I was just looking at that and I was like, wow, this is talking about beyond. And this is what we also talk about. So the goal that you should have in your life should be the one which is beyond this material world, the ultimate, the beyond. So go beyond this material world. Once you go beyond this material world, where will you reach? Are you going to tell me on the notepad? If you go beyond the material world, where do you go? To the spiritual world. Exactly, right? So go look. Yes, exactly, spiritual. Go look, right? So we are saying have that goal beyond. Go to the goal which is beyond this material world. Very, very important thing, right? And only then are you going to get peace in your life, right? And it's a very interesting thing. I said, okay, let me find out, what are the origins of peace? The word peace, again, it comes from Latin, right? So like how Sanskrit is to us in the Orient, a language for pursuing spiritual activities. Similarly, Latin was there in Europe, a language in which you usually used to pursue spiritual activities. So this peace word, comes from a Latin, which is pasisci, which means agree. And of course, they were talking about peace treaties and peace agreements between countries and things like that. But I was just thinking that, in our spiritual world, when you're talking about the ultimate, going to the ulterior, the beyond, right, and connecting with Krishna, how will you do that? Well, before that, you need to have an agreement, the peace, right? And what is the peace treaty? The agreement is there. I accept and I say that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the ultimate enjoyer of everything. And that's what Prabhupada was mentioning in 5 to 29. And he was saying, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva shantim nigachyati. So he's saying that one who understands and accepts the fact that Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, that everything, every sacrifice that you do, Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of that. Bhoktaram Yagyat Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. All right. So also that he is the controller. He's the controller of everything, Sarvaloka, everything, all creation complete. And we have read in Brahma Samhita that he is the original cause of everything. So whoever is the original cause will be the one who will control. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Suhrit Sarva Bhutanam. Now, however, here comes the soft part of it, right? First, it is like, oh, he takes away everything. I did sacrifice, nothing for me, everything for Krishna, right? So Bhaktaram Jagatapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Oh, my goodness. Now, here also, I'm having this trouble, and that is that Krishna is dictating me. Right? But then in the third line, there comes the relief for all of us. He says, Suhrit Sarva Bhutanam. that he's your friend, right? The moment now the relationship changes and you're saying, okay, now I've got a friend. Wow. It's good for me to know that I'm friendly with the one who controls the whole world, right? So now, so once we understand that, now let's look at the situation that we have here, right? The situation that we have, and let's take two examples of how differently Krishna thinks from how we have thought, the ones in the material world. Okay, so Krishna thinks, who is this Radharani? And how, what is it that why does she worship me so much? What happiness does she get out of worshiping me or being such a devotee of mine? What is that joy that she gets? Krishna wants to know what is the joy that Radharani is getting from serving. He's a controller, but he wants to know what is the joy of being a servant instead of being a controller. What is that? Difficult to define that relationship, right? What is it that the servant enjoys? I mean, they are, you see Hindi movies and you have that faithful servant and, you know, has been there for the whole lifetime serving when since he was a small child and now he's becoming very old and all that. We hear all that. What is that joy that person is getting in serving? There must be some joy in that service. So he wants to know what is that joy that Radharani gets. He wants to know what it means to be a servant of the Lord. And so he comes in the form of, now that's a question, in the month of March. Please answer that question. To understand that, he comes in the form of, let's see who's going to get fastest to the notepad to answer that question. Chaitanya says Sukumal Radhe Mataji, there she gets it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Garima Mataji, and you're right, both of you. So he comes in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get a glimpse and a taste of what it means to be a devotee, what it means to be a servant. On the other hand, we are, who are wired to be his servants, right? Who have been created to serve him, we actually think, what does it mean to be a controller? I want to be a controller. I don't want to serve you, Krishna. I want to be a controller. So then Krishna says, all right, so you want to be a controller? I will create something for you. I will create these millions of material universes and you go and try to control it. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to like it. And I'm giving you, here is a recipe for you how to get out of that place if you get sick and tired of that place. And I'll be there as your Surit Sarva Bhutanam. I'll be there as your friend in your heart, waiting for you. And we come here and we try to be controllers. Can you give me some examples of how a person can be a controller here in this material world or try to be a controller? Who do you control? You control the kids. Yeah, very good. Yeah, husband, boss, right, right. Yeah, wife also can control. You want to be a manager, that's why you want to control, right? So we want to control, right? And then Garima Mataji said, kids, yeah, we like to have kids, we control them, we tell them, they listen, go get me a glass of water, they'll get it, go put this away, they'll put this away, but it doesn't last long. In the old days, then they come and control you. The same kids. Right? So this is what it is. You're trying to be a controller, this is how it is going to be. So the idea here is to have a proper ultimate goal. And as long as you don't have that proper ultimate goal, we are always going to be in trouble, like that. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and open up the lines for you to ask your questions and share your reflections so that you get sufficient time to share, because it's a deep purport. And let's see. And those of you watching us on Facebook, if you want to type a question, you can type your question there. All right, so let's see. How do I unmute you all? So my participants are here. And I'm allowing you to unmute yourself. But remember, after you unmute yourself, Ask your question, then mute yourself again and give a chance to others also. Anything that struck your mind, any questions that you have, and let me scroll and see here if there are anything on the chat box.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Mataji, then that line, that disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. So why it is telling that disturbance? Because we want something that's why the disturbance is coming, right? That what you explained.
Yes. And then, so here's the thing, that we are spiritual in nature, right? By nature, we are spiritual, we are human, we are souls, right? We are not this body. So that is who we are. Okay. And then when we set something material as our goal, it's never going to satisfy. We saw just now, Garima was not happy being a manager, senior manager, director, till I stopped waving my magical wand on her. She was not going to stop. I would have asked her, she would have become a CEO by the time this class ended, right? So, so this is the nature of the material world. Well, you moment you get something, you'll want more. Why? Because it's not satisfying you at all. You go to a restaurant and it doesn't serve the thing of your choice. You wanted to eat something nice, and you wanted to eat sambar, and they say no, there's no sambar today, but there's very nice chole bhature. You say, all right, bring chole bhature, and then you don't like it because you wanted sambar. Who you are? I am a South Indian. You don't give me that. So similarly, we are foolishly, we try to run after these material things, and our goal is not the ultimate goal. So ultimate means that beyond that, now since Krishna is the original source of all pleasure, Satchidananda Vigraha. So unless our mind doesn't go and repose on Krishna, we will never be satisfied, right? And will there be disturbance? Yes. There will be disturbances even after you start to repose your mind in Krishna, or you begin to repose your mind. But that is not the disturbance we are talking about. We are talking about material disturbance. There are other types of disturbances also. You can get a transcendental disturbance. You can be very disturbed at the fact that why are all these people around me in this world not taking to Krishna consciousness? That's a disturbance that you're having, but it's a transcendental disturbance, right? And once you have those transcendental disturbance, then instead of being disturbed of that, right? Like, why is nobody taking books from me today? I have got 24 Bhagavad Gitas in the trunk of my car. Why did anybody not take it? That can cause a lot of distress. But if we just say Bhoktaram Yagatapasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, if you say that Krishna is a controller, it basically means that Krishna is the one who's deciding who is going to get a Bhagavad Gita today or not. You are just the instrument. Nimit matra bhava savyasachin, right? So you are just an instrument of Krishna's plan. The moment we understand that, it's fine, right? If your manager goes and tells you that one customer is unhappy, can you go and just talk and tell him that we're going to do this and that? Your manager told you to do, you go and do it. That's it. Results, we don't care. The manager told us, we haven't did it, right? Prabhupada gives such a nice example. He says a clerk in the bank, right? People come and deposit $1 million and nobody takes out any money, so the bank has $1 million. Next day somebody comes and withdraws 900 whatever, $900,000. Now bank has got $100,000 only left. The bank clerk is not bothered because he does not have that ownership. He doesn't think that I control the bank. He doesn't think this money belongs to me. That's why he's in a blissful condition. He's just doing his thing, counting the cash, giving the cash, and taking the cash, depositing it that into the vault. That's all he does. So similarly, when we get this relationship, when we understand this, right? When we start to understand this, then even in this material world, iha yasya harer dase karmana manasa gira niklav apya avasthatum jivan mukta sa uchyate. And that will answer your question, Aruni Mataji, that in this material world I can only understand material relationships or material happinesses. But as you grow in your devotional service, then because devotional service is a transcendental activities, the joy that you will start to get will also be transcendental. Otherwise, what is the reason that people from such rich background who had so supposedly all the happiness in the world because of the big bank balance that they had, why do they give up everything? Why did the six Goswamis that we talked about in the beginning, they were billionaires, and why did they give up everything? and then turn on a kopin, wear a kopin, a loincloth, and spend their lives, there must be a bigger joy. There must be something better. That's why people, otherwise, why will you give? Vishaya minivartante niraha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Only when you get a higher taste are you willing to give up the lower taste. Otherwise, you won't. Right? We'll continue to do it. So this must be something good. So when you iha yasya harer dasya. So iha means here. Harer dasya, the one who is a servant of the Lord. Karmana manasa gira, through his activities, manasa through his mind, and gira is through his body. Karmana manasa gira niklav apya. So then he glorifies the Lord, niklav apyavasthatum jivan mukta sauchite. So he is a liberated person even here, even while he's alive, he's mukt from the vagaries of material nature. And so you will get to enjoy the transcendental bliss, and it will come from within this body. Your senses are going outside, and dhayate vishyan pumsan, they are going and looking at the objects of the senses, but you don't get what happened to when you look at the objects of the senses. You develop attachment. From attachment becomes the desire, the lust. From lust, anger. From anger, delusion. And memory is gone. Then intelligence is gone, and you're back into that same pool of material world. Right? This is what happens when you look outside. Inside of you are two very fantastic things. What is inside the body? Two fantastic things inside the body.
One is soul.
Yes.
And super soul.
And super soul, right? So and super soul is a reservoir of pleasure. So there is pleasure within, and the peace and quiet will come to you from within. It won't come from you from outside. And just to give you an example of when you are within. A man falls in love with a woman. It's temporary happiness, but anyway, it is some sort of a happiness, right? So that day when he falls in love or realizes, or the girl says, oh yeah, I'm going to marry you, he's jumping and laughing. His feet don't fall on the ground. He's floating in the air and he's very happy. And then he comes home and, his little brother has, taken his car and he's bashed the car against a tree. But he says, that's okay. Come on, pal. I understand it happened. We'll get it repaired. And then he goes and sees that, okay, the dishwasher is broken. He says, yeah, I'm going to fix it tomorrow. And he's whistling, he's singing. Why is this happening? There's so many bad things happening around you. His car just got bashed by his younger brother. His dishwasher is broken. Why is he not reacting in a way that he normally reacts? Because there is happiness within. So once you get, but this was again a temporary material happiness, I was saying, right? That can go away. But when you find the real happiness inside, that is the ultimate in happiness. And once we have received it, then there is no need for you to go here, there, and everywhere. And Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandak Pranam, very nice lecture Mataji. Mataji, I read a small story. King wanted a shirt of a happy man, and all his people were going around looking for a man. And he said, he just said, I'm very happy. And his people, subordinates heard it and they came running to him that we want your shirt. He says, I have no shirt. Then he said that, but how can you be happy if you don't have a shirt? He said, that does not matter whether I have a shirt or not, it does not matter. So finally the king comes and asks him that, what is happiness? He says that happiness is within. It is not outside anywhere. It is within. It is what you think about it. It does not lie in the shirt. It does not lie in any material thing, but it lies within, and you have to find it and you have to look for it.
Very good. Yeah. So, very good. Yeah. The Enchanted Shirt by Lord Tennyson. There was a poem written on that story also. The king was sick, his cheeks were red, his eyes were clear and bright. Right. So anyway, yeah. So yes, very true. The happiness definitely comes from within. It has to be discovered like that. Aruni Mataji for the last question before people from the next meeting start pounding us. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, in relation to my reflection that, I wasn't saying that it's hard to focus on the relationship with Krishna because of the material, the attachment to the material wants and desires, like making money or whatever. What if you don't have that either? What if you're not interested in any of the material desires? What I meant was, if you have a case where you're not really interested in all that, in all the whatever material desires, you're not able to summon up any interest in that. You are interested in a relationship with the divine and with Krishna in particular, but because you don't tangibly see Krishna, you don't have the presence. And I understand that you say transcendental activities, but then, you can feel the presence when you're doing japa, but then you're not doing japa all the time. Even if you strive to do japa all the time, your mind does wander here and there. So in order to be rooted, grounded to the material, you are in this body, and while you're in this body, you have to perform all the material functions to keep going in this world. So you have to be grounded. In order to do that, you have to have some relation in this material world, and how do you do that and be connected to Krishna? Because it's not something that's a tangible presence, a physical presence as we know it. In that where you conduct, you talk, you do your everyday activities, things that we need as human beings. I mean, you need to, I know you have association with devotees and so on, but when you have that, inevitably all the material, elements come up as well. All the other things of, no matter what you do, it's there are, all the normal things like anger, jealousy, politicking, all this comes up, right? So how do you maintain that relationship with Krishna, and have that as your ultimate goal? It's not a question of dropping the material desires. What if you don't have those material desires of having a lot of money or this or that? What if you don't have that? Many people don't have that. I mean, I didn't have that. I had to really force myself to do that, and you need to have money to sustain yourself in this life.
Yeah.
So what if you don't have that in the first place? And how do you maintain that ultimate goal when it's not a tangible physical presence?
Yeah. So goal is something that you will set for something that you don't have, right? So I don't have Krishna. I don't have a relationship. I don't understand that relationship. I don't even have an idea how to experience that relationship. I'll set that as a goal. My goal will be to, discover that relationship, sambandha gyan, that is called, right? So we are all on the same plane, right? And then again, because you are in this material body, there are certain duties that you have to do. For example, we have to take a shower. We have to brush our teeth, right? So we can't say that, I'm not going to do any of these. I'm just going to do devotional service. Well, even devotional service says you have to take a shower and then do deity worship like that, right? So then as a parent, you have your duties. So that's why Krishna says, Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat jihoshi, dasi, yat tapasyasi konte, yat kurushva madarthanam. That, whenever you're doing everything, you do it for Krishna. You do it to please Krishna. And whenever you're doing things to please Krishna, you will be always thinking that, how would Krishna want me to do this? If I am a person who is a lawyer and I have to represent cases, how would Krishna want a human being to behave? Right? How would I want, like for Arjuna, Krishna did not say that leave everything, right? He said, you're a Kshatriya, you do your dharma. If your duty is to fight, then you fight. Okay. Now, as you grow in devotional service, what happens is that there are two channels. There is a channel at the back where the Krishna Maha Mantra will continue to play. For example, like we always love somebody in our lives, right? At least our parents, most of us, right? So you love our parents. Do we think about them all the time? Do we chant the names all the time? No. But at the back of the mind, that love is always there. Right? So similarly with Krishna also, at the back of the mind, that love will always be there. And Krishna, and actually Srimad Bhagavatam walks you through those stages. And Sukadeva Goswami anticipated that in Kali Yuga, people will go through these situations where it's not Satyuga, people are born with that in samskaras, that they are all connected to Krishna. So in Satyuga, people will have doubts. People will have, I can't see you, so show me. And that's why he said that you start with the lowest. You start by looking Krishna in the Prakriti. Once you see a beautiful sun, just think about the intelligence that has, created that. That's thinking about Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. That's one of the items of devotional service, is to do smaranam, is to think about Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya, and the taste of water. So what that means, okay, you don't see Krishna, but when you drink water, and how do you define the taste of water? It's so difficult, but it is so tasty. I mean, I can give you 6 Campa Colas, but you cannot, it won't quench your thirst. Water has got some peculiarity. He says, how fantastic and how wonderful that taste of water is. I am that. So we can contemplate every time that we drink a glass of water. So our duty of being in a material body is that I have to hydrate myself. I have to drink water. But then being also Krishna conscious, I bring Krishna like that into my life. And slowly, because Krishna is transcendental, slowly it'll remove all the dirts that we have, right? And we might say that, I don't have any material desires. Material desire just doesn't mean that I want a promotion, I want money and things like that. Material desire could even be, I want people to behave nicely with me. That's also material desire, because who is that me? Right? If somebody comes and says, Shraddha-devi, Dasi, I don't like the shape of your nose. And I get like, how dare you say that? You're like, oh, so what did you do? Oh, this color of the hair that you dyed, it doesn't look, I think this is not right. And then you get very, very offended. But the idea is, why should we get offended? You're not the body. In any case, it's going to go away. Or if somebody big and burly comes in front of you, like, I'm a 7-footer, and how tall are you? You're shorty. Well, both of us are only 1 by 10,000 the size of the tip of the hair. You might be in a 6-foot body and I might be in a 5-foot body, but both are souls, and that way both are equal. So philosophically, we have to do it, and that is why it's an endeavor, it's a practice, it's a process. But it will give you ultimately it only will give us the ultimate peace, right? And don't, Aruni Mataji, you have lots of relationship with Krishna. To sit down and to paint his pictures is clearly showing you, depicting that, you have a relationship with him like that. So that's all very good over there. Now I have to really check and see, because it's 8 o'clock, right? People from the other meeting will be coming over here. So I'd like to take leave from our watchers.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank
Thank
you
you for the nice class.
Thank you so much.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Gopremanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.